Hello, my name is Emma, and today I want to talk about one of Sweden's biggest social problems, the housing shortage. According to Boverket, it's estimated to be missing around 60,000 homes until 2030, especially in big cities like Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmö. We thus see a clear paradox. The demand for housing is enormous, but the supply is not growing at the same rate. Normally, this would create strong incentives for construction companies to build more, but yet it's not happening. Why? And could it actually be hiding a business opportunity? So, Sweden has faced a housing shortage for several decades. Despite the growing population, Statistics Sweden reporting that the country has now passed 10.5 million inhabitants. The pace of construction remains far below what is needed. For example, only about 59,000 new homes were completed in 2022, even though the National Board of Housing, Building and Planning estimated that nearly twice as many were required. This clearly demonstrates a significant strategic imbalance. So, what's the reasons? First, high construction costs. Construction costs in Sweden are among the highest in EU, according to Eurostat. Expensive materials, high wages, and stricter sustainability requirements drive up prices. This makes it difficult to build cheap rental properties with reasonable profitability. 2. Rules and bureaucracy. Permit processes can take 5 to 10 years, especially in big cities. According to Sweden's construction industries, this is one of the biggest obstacles to faster housing production. 3. Politics and subsidies. Subsidies for housing construction decreased after the 1990s. At the same time, the municipalities bear a great deal of responsibility, but often lack the resources or political agreement to run projects. 4. Land shortage in cities. In Stockholm, land prices are among the highest in Europe. This means that developers prioritize the premium segment, like expensive condominiums, over cheap rental apartments. And 5, the strategies of the construction companies. As the profits are greater on exclusive housing, we see a trend where more players build for the upper middle class than for low and middle income earners. This creates a skewed distribution in supply. So, let's move on to the strategic analysis. DEPEST. The DEPEST model is a framework for environmental analysis used to identify factors in the macro environment that affect organizations and markets. So, from a demographically perspective, Sweden is growing rapidly through both natural growth and immigration. More young adults and new arrivals need small and affordable apartments. From the economically perspective, high inflation and interest rates make it more expensive to borrow for construction projects and buy homes. Politically, municipalities control housing planning, but often lack incentives to approve cheaper housing, which leads to they can increase welfare costs. Ecological. Sustainability requirements such as energy efficiency and climate impact increase costs, but can also drive innovation. For example, wooden construction. Social. Urbanization continues and people want to live in the cities where their jobs are. This increases the pressure on already expensive areas. And technologically, new construction techniques such as modular houses, 3D printed buildings, and digitized permit processes can revolutionize construction if they gain traction. Let's move on to Porter's 5 forces. Porter's 5 forces model is one of the most used tools for analyzing competition in an industry. The model identifies 5 factors that determine the profitability of a market, and based on these, I will analyze anomaly with the housing market. So first, entry barriers. The very high land, capital, and regulations mean that only large players can enter. 2, competition between existing players. This is relatively low. A few large construction companies dominate and can thus control pricing. 3, bargaining power of buyers. This force is kind of weak. Home buyers and tenants are dependent on the small supply available. 4, the supply's bargaining power. This is a strong power. Building materials and labor are expensive, and global price increases affect Sweden hard. 5, threats from substitutes. This is low. People must have somewhere to live. There are few options for housing. So what we see here is a pattern of structural barriers. Although demand is stable and high, supply is slowed by regulations, costs, and land shortages. This makes the housing market inefficient and creates a permanent imbalance. But are there any business opportunities here? Yeah, because in every challenge, there is an opportunity. Companies that invest in innovative construction methods, which modular house, wood-based high-rise buildings like you see in this picture, it's called Sarkulturis in Skellefteå, or digital planning processes can gain a strategic advantage. So, to summarize, the housing shortage in Sweden is a clear example of a strategic anomaly. High demand, but low supply. The causes are mainly about costs, regulations, and land shortage. But precisely because of this, there's an opening for innovative actors who can find smarter, cheaper, and faster way to build. My conclusion is that the housing shortage is not only a societal challenge, but also one strategic business opportunity for companies that dare to think new.